Hello everybody, Realm Builder Guy here, and welcome back to the channel and a new historical strategy game review video. I will have a special announcement also around this game towards the end of the video, so you may want to stick around or skip forward if you want to. There will be chapters in the description if you'd so choose, but I don't understand why you would. Anyway, this is Strategic Command World War I, developed by Fury Software and published by Slytherin and Matrix Games. Thank you again to Slytherin for sending me a copy to play around with, test, and enjoy. And spoilers, I do enjoy this game. It is another hex and turn-based strategic war game, much like Warplan Pacific, though different. Obviously, it's a different game, different time period, and different development studio. And this is, of course, as you can tell, it is set in World War I in the 1914 to 1918 period. What you see right here is the way the game is vanilla. I will show you a mod that changes the look to a way that I prefer and that I think the game is better with. That being said, it's not a mod that you have to find somewhere on the internet. It actually comes now delivered with the game. So if you get it through Steam or Nexus GG, where link in the description there, it'll come with the mod and you can just simply enable it. And I will show you that here in a second. So you have different modes here you can go through. You got single player, you have your hot seat multiplayer, and then your online play by email. And of course, you can load different things. You have your settings you can change here. It's just very basic settings. And then here you have mods that you can enable. It is the Blue Max mod. And I will show you what that looks like in a moment. So if we go to single player, that's the main campaign. You have multiple campaigns you can pick from. Starting at the bottom, you have the 1918 Ludendorff Offensive. So this is Germany launches a spring offensive in this divisional level campaign. So it's a daily turn-based, and days per turn are 2. Then the 1917 Fate of Nations. You start in January 27th, 1917. So can you defeat both France and Russia before the USA enters the war in strength? And then you've got 3 different 1914 starts. You have the Triple Alliance on August 1st, 1914. So who will win when Italy enters the war on the side of the Central Powers? Now, the Triple Alliance was actually Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, historically. Then you have the March on Paris, set August 2nd. Now, this is a daily turn length, so 1 day per turn, and it is replicating the Western Front at a divisional combat level. And can Paris be taken in 3 months? And then the Grand Campaign, which is the 1914 Cult Arms, starting August 1st, 1914. And this is, of course, starting as the Allies, or the Entente, better said. Sorry, I was playing Strategic Command World War II. So you've got either the Entente or the Central Powers. You have your victory conditions right here that you can also bring up in the game. And if you play the campaign, I'll show you this real quickly here. We'll start as the Central Powers and not as the Entente. The reason being is otherwise the Central Powers act first. They have the first turn. Otherwise, we go through a bunch of turns before we get to the Entente. You can set your difficulty settings here, and obviously it changes the bonuses and debuffs and so on. You can also just change these manually. We'll leave it on intermediate for now. So this is what it looks like with the vanilla game. You've got your border styles. It doesn't look too bad. Your counter styles, these are your NATO counter styles, or you can go with 3D units. Then you've got Fog of War, Weather, Undo Moves. We'll just leave it at 3D units for right this second to show you the game. Go to Advanced, and you have all these different options. I would add all of these except Fade in Text After Scroll. Don't care about that. Disable Endgame, you can do that. I don't, but you can do that, and you just play past the end date. Research Diplomacy, I will get into all of that, but let me load this up and show you what it first looks like in vanilla, the map itself, and then I will show you what it looks like with the Blue Max mod. So here we are in game, in the vanilla looking game. You can see the way the countries look, the graphics, And let's scroll in here. These are what the 3D counters look like. So you've got your headquarter units, your cavalry units, your air units, your infantry units. Then you've got your artillery units here, and then different naval. You've got some marine units here as well, and that is what it looks like in 3D. If we change this look really quickly to the non-3D version, let me show you what that looks like. So these are what we would call NATO counters. So there you have your headquarter units, you've got your infantry, your cavalry, your artillery, your air units, and then you've got your Marine Corps, essentially, and your different naval units there. So now I'm going to get out of this, and we will enable the Blue Max mod, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here's what it looks like if you enable the Blue Max mod. You basically go here to settings, you click on mods, and you just tick all of these. They're all alternative screens. I just ticked them all. I mean, you can change it, and basically this back screen changes. Now I will go into a campaign that I loaded up earlier, and we can see what it looks like with the Blue Max mod enabled. And here we have the game loaded now with the Blue Max mod, and you can see the difference in the counters and in the graphics specifically. Here you have infantry, there you have your cavalry, then somewhere in here you've got artillery as well, and air units. Let's see if I can find it. There's an air unit right there. And then your naval units look a little bit different. Here are some of the naval units. This one I actually loaded up as the Entente, just to kind of show something a little bit different. And here you can see what the map kind of looks like. This is your strategic view of the map. If you look in here, you've got your different terrain types. It is a very large map, as you can see down here in the mini-map. You've got all the way to North America, the United States, East Coast, and the East Coast of Canada. You have North Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, here the Caspian Sea, and of course all of Europe as well. Here's the Eastern Front, here's the Western Front, here's basically the Southern Front as well. It is a truly massive scaled map that gives you a variety of different terrain types, weather, and resources. That's right, it snows and it rains. That's very important because that impedes combat, travel, and obviously the way your airplanes act. If it's raining or snowing, your airplanes cannot act. Whether it's raining or snowing in your area or where you want to go will determine what your planes are able to do. You also have different war maps you can choose from. This is the general war map here. You can click on any one of these nations and it shows you down here what's going on, what the current situation is. You have a strategy map, which just kind of shows you overall where units are positioned, which is something I actually really like. And then you have a convoy map here, which shows you the convoys in the game, which are very, very important. You can click on them, and it'll show you exactly what each is sending. If we go here, Canadian supply shipments to the UK are 56 MPP. I will talk about MPP in a moment, as that is exceptionally important. So those are your basic maps, and then on top of that up here, you also have reports of different things you can look at, different graphs, plunder, strategic bombing, MPPs, national morale, and so forth. As I mentioned, this is a hex-based game. You can turn the hexes off on the map, which I wouldn't do. I prefer leaving them on. Why? Well, I'll get into that in a moment, and some things that really helps, and it also just kind of helps you see where you need to go, want to go, and how movement works. But I had alluded to this thing up here in the top left that you see that says 35 MPP here for the UK. What is MPP? Well, those are military production points, and what you need MPP for are multiple things. Let's start here at the top. You can use MPPs to purchase specific units, depending on what country you are and what you want to do. Here you can see if it's loaded in, or if it's highlighted in white, that means you have the money, here's the United States, to buy and purchase this unit. It will then come into this production queue right here that shows you when you can expect new units to show up. That will then show up here in the new units tab, and you can then deploy them. The next part that you need MPPs for is right here, and you click on the diplomacy map, and you can initiate diplomacy depending on how many MPP you have. If we look at here the UK, then you've got Serbia here and Russia to start off with. It shows you here how many MPPs you have right now, and then you also have chits. Chits are basically how often you can invest. And here you invest your MPPs into a percentage, and it shows you what the diplomatic cost is. If you want to influence Italy towards your side, it'll cost you 150 military production points to bump it up by 5%, or a chance of 5% that it goes into your turn. And you can see here quickly who is kind of aligning where, who's going with the Central Powers, and who is leaning more towards the Entente, or who in general is pretty neutral. Albania, Persia, Spain, and Switzerland. Switzerland is leaning Central Powers, but they're still pretty neutral, and you can quickly see that there. So that is very, very important. The next extremely critical thing to use MPPs on is your research. So you have different things that you can research here, and everything has a different cost. The cost is listed right here. So as the UK, we don't have enough. Trying to think who has. So the United States has 75 MPP available. So say we wanted to go with, what can we spend 75 on? Aerial warfare. You click that up. It says spend 50 MPP. You click yes, and boom, there is a green bar, and it is dark green. There's a light green that will then move this up as you increase development, and you can tick this up or down accordingly. The other thing you can use MPPs for, if we click on France here as an example, you can use it to reinforce. Now, I can't do that right now, except right here, sorry. So here you can see this is the reinforce button. You can also upgrade a unit, which we don't have any upgrades right now. But if we did, you can click on it there. You use your MPPs. So it's cost of 22 to reinforce this unit back up to full strength. And as you can see, it now has no more action points. As you enforce or reinforce your units, they lose the ability to move. Quick thing, naval units can only be reinforced when they go back into port. Now let's talk a little bit about units. There are different types of units. So you have infantry, cavalry, of course you have your navy, and your Air Force, but you also have headquarters. I'm going to talk about headquarters first. Headquarters are extremely important. They are a non-combat unit. They are mainly administrative in nature, but what they do is they boost combat morale. They give certain buffs to your combat units, and they act as a supply source. Supply is really important, and I will talk about supply separately, but they are very, very important, and you will want to either manually or, let's see, set mode here, auto assist, or manual to determine which unit is attached to which headquarter unit. So that's very important. If we look at this infantry unit here, we will go to properties. You can see this is the 6th Corps in France. You have corps, you have divisions. Here you can see where it sits in terms of the general stats, and then the attack values and the defense values. Soft targets, hard targets, artillery, strategic artillery, light armor, tanks, fighters, bombers, etc. You also have honors here that shows if they have done anything specific and special, it will be shown here, which is kind of cool if you want to kind of role play this and understand. And really what it helps is it gives you a higher level of immersion in the game. Now here you can see the different movement points you can do. You can also left click again, and this gives you a forced march. I don't recommend forced march unless you're desperate, because as you can see, it's a minus 65% to morale. Then you can see here, zone of control. You move into a zone of control. It could initiate combat either from your enemy, or obviously you can initiate it. And here is zone of control prohibits movement. Due to the zone of control from the German forces here, you cannot move into those spaces. The other thing you can do, if you right click, you can also manually here click reinforce, elite reinforcement upgrade. You can do an operation which costs MPP, so say a rail movement. You can use this to transport a unit if you have transports built, amphibious transport, so transport into a zone where there are enemy units, long range amphibious transport. That explains that. You can disband a unit, you can rename a unit. We can look at the properties of both unit and the properties here, for instance, of the Seine River. So it shows you your max entrench is 1. Speaking of entrench, you can also entrench, sleep, you can do a forced march, or you can cancel. See if there's a unit here where we can entrench. Yes, here. We can entrench this unit. You can pick the number of sides, 3, 2, or 1, and rotate where you want the entrenchment to go. I always prefer to do 3 because that way there aren't any surprises, and it's easy to lose oversight as to who is entrenched what way. It is very strategic because obviously these add certain defensive bonuses to your units depending on from where the enemy attacks. If an enemy attacks from a non-entrenched side, then obviously you don't get those bonuses. Now let's talk real quick about combat. So we'll just pick this unit, and as you can see, it highlights the enemy around here. So this shows a 3-3, this is a 3-2. The first number, now these are estimates, okay? This is a predicted outcome. Predicted outcome is that you lose 3 units and your enemy loses 3 units. We will initiate the combat. See what happens. They lost 2 and we lost 2. So again, it is a predicted outcome, and you can move the unit sometimes right after combat. If we take these guys and move them in here, you can see it is a 3-2. Not really great. Ideally, what you want is that number is a 0-2, 0-3, or whatever. You want minimize your losses, but still it's predicted. You could still lose combat. Now, if we look at air units, you can do the same basic things as you do with the land units. If you go to your naval units, you can also naval cruise, which is like a force march, but it doesn't cost you morale. Then you can set your convoy status. You could be a raider if you chose to. If you are a sub, you can either go on silent mode or hunt. I'm trying to see if I have any subs here. I don't think so. The French really don't have a lot of subs. These are dreadnoughts. I'm trying to see. There's no submarine that I can find, but they can hunt or go on sleep mode, and you can basically target specific convoy routes. So you've got the red lines, that's the Entente, the blue line are the Central Powers. So you could say send these guys over here, and there's enemy contact there. You could initiate the combat. This is more in your favor, but what this also does, sitting on a convoy route, you are now raiding the convoy. Let's just initiate that combat. They lost 2, and we lost none. So that was actually, it predicted 1-2, but it came out as a 0-2. You want to quickly navigate around, again, you can just click on the mini-map here, or use your middle mouse wheel scroll and go all the way out. And you can say, click right here, and you're right where you want to be, down here off the coast of Portugal. Now, the other thing that's very important for any of these types of games is, of course, supply. So you can either click here to show hide supply, or just press S. And you can see where supply is. You can see it's very high here, 12, 11, 10, 8, 9, and then it starts to diminish. If we would click S again, it would show the supply as it looks if you go into enemy territory. You are getting further away from your supply sources, so those numbers tend to go down. What helps supply are, first of all, the cities, as well as major capitals like Paris. Then it gets boosted by your headquarter units and rail and roadways as well. And then, of course, you have certain supply resources, like here as an example, you have a mine. If you go out here, you have a town that acts as a supply source. So always keep an eye on your supply, because units that are out of supply, well, they can't move, they can't do anything, and they're honestly sitting ducks after a while. So that is a quick review and overview of Strategic Command World War I to kind of show you what the game is all about. My personal opinion is it's an absolutely fantastic and outstanding game. If you love this time period, it's hard to find good World War I games, and Strategic Command World War I is the best one that I found that's out there on the market if you're looking for a strategy game. Now, these games are not empire builders, they are not politic games. It is about the war effort itself and how you manage it and whether or not you can win the war. So for me, it is worth the $39.99 price tag, either through Steam or Nexus GG. Link down in the description to that. But occasionally they, of course, also go on sale. You can also go to matrixgames.com and buy it from there if you so choose. I would highly recommend this game. So now the special announcement. I will be doing a Strategic Command World War I campaign playthrough as the Central Powers starting in the next little while. So please stay tuned for that. If you want to find out more about the game and really a walkthrough tutorial type and really see step by step what this game really is all about, especially because then you get to see a lot of the cool decisions and events that fire that you get to make that really add even more depth to the game. So if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to not miss out on any future strategy game reviews or content, or if you want to check out, of course, the upcoming Strategic Command World War I playthrough. So until next time, I'm Round Builder Guy, and I will talk to you soon.